guys, welcome to the Rideshare Show. I'm Mike Dean.
And Jermaine Ellis, back with another one.
Thanks for joining us for episode 3 of the Rideshare Show. We've got some pretty interesting things to talk about today. We're going to talk about in the next coming segments how to be a safer driver, driver safety. I think this is one of the things that drivers don't really focus too much on. No, let's just make the money and forget about being safe, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I see drivers doing stuff all the time, and I just wonder, dude, are they aware that they're not supposed to do that?
We're going to talk about the on-demand economy, which our expert Jermaine is very fluent in. Diversifying income, and we'll also be talking about the UberPool Revolt. I'm going to leave it right there, and then we'll elaborate on it in the next minute or two. But let's talk about driver safety. One of the things I've noticed over the years is that there have been more and more incidents that are occurring with regards to driver-related issues, whether it's passengers to drivers, or something outside of passengers to drivers. What do you think has been going on lately?
With driver safety, when I first heard you say driver safety, the first thing I thought of was just driving. Just driving, but no,
definitely
it's
part of that.
Yeah, of course, but it's not just driving. It's actually being safe on the road, not just from cars, but from someone trying to harm you.
Crazy folks are out there.
Crazy, someone, getting in the wrong car, like just all sorts of things that can go wrong.
Carjackings.
I mean, going to the gas station and leaving your phone in the mount, and
window broken. I've heard about that. I mean, that's you could definitely get away with a broken window, but like a broken nose, or just like being physically assaulted,
or hidden with a hammer,
or something. But here's the thing: is that this is a reality, and it's becoming a little bit more. It's happening a little bit more. I've noticed the frequency is increasing. Drivers are vulnerable to a certain degree, whether it's from riders, and we're going to talk about rider safety in another episode. So if you're a rider, we're not going to leave out rider safety as well. But it seems to be an increase in incidents happen. I've been driving since 2011. One of the things I've noticed is that riders have gotten in my car. I used to drive around waiting for rides. I would be at a stoplight, and sometimes I'm not actually even driving. Like, I'm not even thinking about driving. I'm not on the clock or anything. Next thing I know, I'm at a stop sign, and someone's opening up my door. I swear, several times, I thought I was getting jacked.
This happens frequently.
Yeah. So and I got a black, sexy Prius, so now I make it a habit at all times to lock my doors, even when I'm driving and picking up riders. So let's just go over a few tips with regards to rider safety. Can you?
That's a really important tip, because I have the same problem that happens to me. You should just keep your cars locked when you're in the city, for one. And whenever I drive and do a lot of food deliveries, I pull outside of a building and I have to wait sometimes for the customer to come down to retrieve the food. And usually what happens, I see someone comes downstairs, they're on their phone, they're looking for their Uber, they're not paying attention, they walk straight up to my car, because my car is just right outside of this building, and they try to get in.
They want to get in.
And I'm thinking, why did you even come to my car? I don't even have the Uber thing on the car. People just do it all the time, and it helps to have your doors locked.
It's a little spooky, right? Another thing, and this is not necessarily driver particularly with safety, about driver safety specifically, but it definitely helps. So I keep my doors locked, and when there's a rider that I'm picking up, I actually don't just go ahead and open up my doors unless I'm doing Lyft, because sometimes you can see the rider's face, their profile. But a lot of times what I'll do is I'll crack my window up, down rather, and I'll leave
it this much.
I'm serious, and I'll give a different name. Let's say the rider's name says like John. I'll say, for Bob, and they'll be like, no, John. I'm like, perfect, get in. So I'm actually, I'm cross-checking the name because people will like agree with you. If you say the right name, they'll agree. They'll get in.
Of course, I'm John. I'm John.
You drive 2 blocks and you realize like, this guy is like tipsy or she's tipsy and didn't realize it.
And you get a phone call on your phone, and that
happened to me.
And they're like,
I was around the corner from a pickup, and I picked up, and I asked her. Here's the thing: the woman, she had English was her second language. So, and I said, Jennifer. She said yes. And then I drove off. About 2 blocks later, I get a phone call. Hey, are you my Uber? Because you're leaving. I was like, are you Jennifer? She was like, huh? Make a long story short, the real Jennifer canceled the ride. This one requested the ride, and I took her. So, again, that's a situation that's very unlikely to happen. But for me, I'm giving out the wrong name to make sure I got the right rider. Period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely one. That's a card I've definitely used many times.
So I've also brainstormed about a few tips, that I think drivers can consider when picking up riders. And the first several ones that we talked about, I think, are important. Make sure your doors are locked at all times. Double cross-check your rider's name, however it is that you do it. As I mentioned, I give the wrong name to get the right answer. But also situational awareness, being aware of your environment, being aware of the people around you. Make sure you're in an area that is well lit.
Hold on, let me stop there. No, you say make sure you're in an area that's well lit.
Okay. You might not.
That can be a little tricky as an Uber driver. Uber can send you way out there to this neighborhood.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, but you just have to still use common sense. If it's a long dark road, and if you don't feel comfortable going down there, and if you don't have cell phone service,
I'm not going.
Yeah, I wouldn't go either.
I'll be, and that kind of gets into a sort of gray area when it comes to kind of, discriminating on certain communities or whatever. But I'll be frankly honest with you. I'm gonna, if I feel just a hint of discomfort in the area that I'm in, mm-hmm. or even with the potential rider that might be getting in my car, I might just cancel. And, I've done that 1 or 2 times, and I really got to put my safety first. It's unfortunate, but, I don't make it a habit, and I try to be very careful about, who I'm picking up and where I'm picking them up as well. It might have happened like maybe once or twice, but.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been in the situation where I'm driving to pick up a customer, and I receive a phone call, and the customer is sort of angry, and I'm thinking, okay, if I'm driving to pick you up and you're like upset, do I still want to pick you up? It's like sometimes you might want to look at a situation like that, or if there's like loud people screaming in the background, and I don't know, you might
rambunctious, maybe just overly intoxicated, mm-hmm. Something like that. Also, like if you're picking, like for me, like if I go into a cul-de-sac on a certain street, I want to make sure that my vehicle is turned on, and that I like literally I don't go into park when I'm picking somebody up, just because I want to make sure that if I need to, I know it sounds crazy, but if I need to move quickly, mm-hmm. there's nothing obstructing, in front of me. There's no car in front of me. I've got room to be mobile, and I can hit that accelerator at any time. Of course, this is under certain circumstances. Again, if it's, in a dark area or something to that degree. But I'm always kind of, preparing myself to do something like the getaway or whatever. Mm-hmm. But one thing I want to talk about is, what do we do when there's like an obnoxious, aggressive passenger in the car? What are some of the things that you have done? How do you handle that situation? Because that's our safety as well, you know what I mean?
Well, I remember once I had this customer. It was a party of 3, and it was one guy in the back. He was obviously not from around here. He had a whole lot of racial things to say. Wow. He kind of said all these things pretty quick. And the girl that he was with and the other guy that he was with, I can tell that they were like, okay, this is our friend, but we are not down with, everything that he just said. And in that situation, that was the end of the situation.
Right. I mean, you're not going to toss them all out the car because one bad apple is like,
Bad apple. And that ride was also a 5X surge. It was, I think it was beta breakers or something like that. So, these are a lot of people really drunk. And actually the girl and the other guy were not as drunk, and they were very respectful.
I tell you the truth. It doesn't matter if it's 10 times surge. If I have an unruly rider that is aggressive and that is disrupting me. And I could take curse words, insults, anything like that. But when it becomes to such a point, because people are drunk and just people are just different, whatever. But if it starts to affect my focusing on the road, that's my safety thing. That's when I draw the line, and then I may ask a rider to exit the vehicle. Now, here's the thing: how do we deal with people when they're actually when they are overly intoxicated and we want to drop them off? One thing I can tell you for sure is that you never want to tell a rider that you're gonna kick them out of your vehicle while you are still driving. I think this is really important. I've seen videos, that whole Taco Bell guy, manager dude that pounced on the driver. That driver told him that he's going to be kicking him out of his vehicle while he's driving, while he's vulnerable, and the guy is behind him. And as a protocol, I highly recommend, an aggressive rider or a drunk rider, if you want to get them out of your vehicle, pull over. Don't mention anything. Don't say anything. Pull over in a well-lit, well-populated area with people. Stop the car immediately. Get out of the vehicle, okay? And then ask that person to get out. And say it once, maybe twice, and if they don't, I would proceed to call the police.
I agree, and if you pull over to an area where there's people to see. You have witnesses. Who knows? People may pull out their cell phone and go Facebook Live. You have proof of what happened.
Yeah. Another thing is like, don't take it personal. I mean, it's it's easy, when someone's insulting you, or they're cursing at you, or they're calling you names, or there's racial epithets and things. Don't take it personal. Keep calm and collected, because once you start to respond to them the same way they're responding to you, it just kind of escalates. It just gets the energy levels, the aggression, the anger increases, and then that can potentially turn into something even a lot worse, in general. I would just, I've had it happen to me. I've, asked people, I've just kept calm and collective, gotten to my destination, or have prepared to, have that person or those individuals exit the vehicle. But before we continue, driver safety, let's talk about dash cams, because I think it's probably one of the best tools that you could possibly have when it comes to safety. A dash cam is recording not just the road in front, but the interior of the vehicle, and it works as a deterrent. I mean, I think someone just, having a sign is important, to let people know there's a dash cam, because it might kind of be the difference between them acting up or doing something and not. What do you think about that?
I think dash cams are very important, and I know you're kind of focused on, the whole driver, passenger, driver, and that experience. I think dash cams are important for if I get pulled over by the police. I mean, that's, everything's being recorded, and also they're very good for car accidents too. But all sorts of incidents. You could possibly film something else happen on your dash cam. And now you have that footage.
Be a witness to someone else, even another fellow Uber driver or something, whatever. But yeah, without doubt, it's definitely important, for insurance purposes. You might even get an insurance premium reduction for having a dash cam. And it's just overall safety, and recording and documenting what's going on in the road ahead of you, as well as inside your vehicle, and preventing, and that's the idea. Is like, for me, it's like I want to prevent things from happening, not necessarily record the things. Like, I don't even want to go there. And I think for me, when I have a dash cam, it really makes a difference. Riders have said, that's a good idea, and I think it might keep people in check. And also, it's not even just necessarily physical safety or whatever. Riders say things. They turn around to Uber, and next thing you know, you got an adjusted fare for $35 because, the riders say, oh, my driver didn't know where he was going, or boom, 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 or he said this to me, he insulted me. It actually happens, and it really helps that you have documented evidence of things that really didn't happen.
Yeah, or the customer says, oh, well, this happened, and that totally didn't happen, and you can go, rewind that footage and say, well, I didn't say this.
Exactly, right. You've got some clear, concrete evidence. But yeah, so definitely be aware of your surroundings. Be conscious. Don't be on your phone doing other things. Know where your rider is. Know where you're at. Know what your space around you. Don't respond to riders, I think, is a great idea. The way they might be verbally attacking you or talking to you. Remember, people are also intoxicated, and some folks are just plain old ass. Asphalt. They're asphalts.
They just don't.
But I mean, it's crazy, but it's a reality, and I think the more you kind of learn about these things, the safer you can be as a rider. And I have to say, women, especially women, they definitely want to get a dash cam, because women are not just subjected to, kind of like verbal stuff, but there's also the sexual component. Unfortunately, there's no videos, no tutorials on how to handle yourself. I highly recommend that you Google around how to be a safer driver when you have riders in the car or passengers. You can look up taxi related stuff. I think it's important that you get some kind of understanding, because it's a reality, and the TNCs are not training us or mentioning that reality, and they don't want to, because they don't want to deter us from being part of the platform.
They just want to say download the app and join and sign up, but they don't want to,
fill in the blanks. And I get that. I get that we don't want to instill fear in the drivers, but instilling safety and precaution. You're still going to have drivers out there, and I think it's important. So, with that said, just be safe, drive safe as well. Follow the rules on the road.
Please don't leave your phone in the car when you're running into the gas station.
Absolutely, don't leave your personals. I've seen that. I actually saw a driver have his window broken. And
I mean, the Facebook groups, like every weekend, I see stuff like that. No.
All right, so guys, we're gonna break real quick to our sponsor, Holy Chocolate. We're glad to have our first sponsor. It's really cool. And last week we introduced this really incredible Colombian chocolate bar. Oh my God, it was so delicious. This week we're going to talk about Holy Chocolates. There'll be a link in the description where you guys can go visit Holy Chocolates. They also have hot chocolate. Dude, let me tell you, I had. Okay, so this is what, the Amsterdam Holy Chocolate. Amsterdam. This is instant hot chocolate. There's the Belgium, and then there's the European. Which one did I have? I had the Belgium milk. Oh my God. Oh my God, Jermaine! I swear it's like drinking a chocolate bar.
So how much
instant.
of it did you put in there, and then how much water did you use?
This is a packet, and I think it was about this is a almost 1.5 ounces of chocolate mix, and I think it's 6 ounces of water. But you can get more information on the website at holychocolate.com. Great products. Definitely want to check it out if you're a chocolate lover. This is very unique. This is specialty stuff at a very reasonable price. And so far, compared to those other guys, Ghirardelli's, and what's the other one? What's that chocolate?
I don't know.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, but let's stick with the Holy Chocolate.
So what we get as a sponsor, sponsoring these guys, is just a couple of chocolate bars here and there. It's not much, but
yeah.
All right, so Jermaine, this is we're going to talk about the on-demand economy and diversifying your income and opportunities as a whole. A lot of people focus on ride sharing, so you're going to do Uber, you're going to do Lyft, but many drivers don't even think or consider diversifying their income or opportunities. And what do you think about having other platforms available, food, whatever?
I think having other platforms available is very important. Okay, so for example, let's take a typical Monday. A typical Monday in the Bay, I may wake up at 7 a.m. and drive to the city and start driving Uber. Let's say I drive from 7 a.m. to 11. Well, 11 rolls around. It's slow at 11. What am I going to do at 11? I think the perfect thing to do is to have other apps that you can go on and work when it's busier during other hours of the day. So
those are the peak times for food, and during peak times in general, the incentives are
usually higher. So it's like you go from, I start working early in the morning, and I get the rush hour, the peak hour with Uber, and then around lunchtime, now I'm on another peak hour, and I'm using apps such as Caviar or Postmates, DoorDash. These are food delivery apps. They're very, very simple to use. They work kind of like Uber. You go to a restaurant, you pick up a food order, you drop a food order off. There's even incentives. Sometimes there's double orders, so now you can knock out 2 orders at once. How
much have you made? Of course, every market is different. We like to always kind of disclose that, what we earn here in San Francisco, whether it's food or whatever. It's never not going to be the same. It's also based on cost of living factors. But like, you know, when you're really working that 11 to 2 or 5 to 9, which is like dinner time and lunchtime, I mean, what have you pulled in, you know, working those incentive time periods?
Well, I don't usually just work like 11 to 2 shift. I usually work, you know, a 6-hour shift or an 8-hour shift. But from 11 to 2, those are really good times to work. The peak hours are the highest between like 11 and 12. And they sort of trickle down from like 1 p.m. to 2. They, you know, they're, maybe it's like 10% or 15% higher than what it would normally be. Now, during the 11 o'clock hour, on Caviar, some of the bonuses can be as high as 65% higher than, you know, if you would accept the delivery at 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. in the afternoon.
So can you like net somewhere between at least what, like 160, 200? I mean, I think I've seen some of your earnings. You've kind of hit over 200 doing roughly about 8 hours.
Yes, but it's unpredictable. It's very unpredictable.
Well, I mean, the whole sharing economy thing is unpredictable, right?
Yeah, it is. So let's say a 6-hour shift or an 8-hour shift. There's been days where I've made $200 on a 6-hour shift, and there's been days I've made $200 on a 12-hour shift. It varies. The days of the week make a huge difference. Obviously Sunday and Saturday are the busiest days.
Yeah.
But I typically work during the week more, and I goof off on the weekends. So
So, you know, I think one of the misconceptions when it comes to kind of food deliveries that I notice a lot of Uber X drivers kind of have is that it's like it's not valuable. I mean, like they can't make any money, or like, you know, it's below them, or, you know, it's not worth it, or like, you know, it's too much of a hassle for parking and all that stuff. I mean, we've done both, but you've done most food than I have. Tell me what some of the differences are, and if it's not as challenging as one might think.
Well, first I have to kind of sort of agree with what you kind of said. Before I started doing food delivery, I was asking myself the same questions. Can I make money? Will this be worth my time? Will this be something I want to do?
Time is money.
I mean, yeah, okay, would I just be better off just driving Uber and just not worrying about deliveries? And I just had to go out there and try it and just see what would happen. And, you know, things have definitely changed. Uber Eats now is nowhere like it's nothing what it was before it started. I remember when it first started, it was a lot harder to make money. They still had bonuses and incentives, and without those bonuses and incentives, you would just be wasting your time.
Right, same here.
I mean, I'm talking about like you would go out from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. and you would do maybe 3 deliveries or 2 deliveries. And nowadays, if you go out and work that same shift, I mean, you might do 3 deliveries an hour.
Yeah, the demand is definitely up. I mean, in fact, I've been kind of monitoring like Uber Eats in general compared to like DoorDash, Postmates, or DoorDash and Caviar for sure are some of the leaders. You know, food-wise, well, Postmates too. And I think a lot of people don't realize like Uber came out of nowhere. I mean, dude, they're like in 40 cities plus in the U.S. They're also like in Asia, Africa, like in Egypt. It's crazy. I mean, they literally just steamrolled in.
No, you're talking about Uber Eats.
Uber Eats,
okay,
yeah.
Uber
I mean,
Eats,
they're in more markets than DoorDash, Postmates, and freaking Caviar combined.
Well, you must understand it was super easy for Uber to roll out Uber Eats. It was just flip a switch.
To their riders, to their riders, because that's how it was before. The Uber Rider app was, the Uber Rider app was integrated with Uber Eats, and that kind of tweaked it over and got those, you know, those Uber X riders to like, you know, $20 food credit promotions, $10. You know, Uber's just throwing money at them, and it actually worked well. It was a great. Now, in terms of making money, I don't know, but for drivers, I find that here's a benefit. I'm not getting a ride that's going from San Francisco to Walnut Creek that's going to take an hour and a half during traffic where I'm going to make $15 freaking.
Okay.
Right? And then come all the way back and I got gas money and mileage when I actually can make like $28 in an hour during, net after Uber's fees in a certain time period, 5 to 6, because this boost, this incentive.
In a certain area.
In a certain area that I'm just kind of bouncing around. But like I said, but there's that misconception. Drivers are like, well, it's parking. I'm like, I tell drivers, something? You got to get the hang of it. You come up with a strategy, the same strategy that you had to come up with the riders. What? You got tickets, right? Because you picked up a rider where?
At
a bus stop.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. You just got to kind of work it, pay attention, and focus. It's just a handful of things. Keep some quarters in your pocket. Sometimes I'll actually park like 2 blocks away from a place because I know it's too deep. I ain't going to get no parking. And then I'll walk.
Oh, you're a really nice driver. I don't think I've ever parked 2 blocks away.
Well, no, I mean to go pick up because it's harder to pick up the food than it is to drop it off. Sometimes. I'm just saying just in general.
Yeah.
But then, again, that's not true because you've gotten some drop-offs in the freaking financial district, and that's the worst place to do anything for.
I love it. It's fun. I love dropping off and picking up in the financial district. I mean, it's so tricky. It's so challenging, and there's meter maids everywhere, and you really have to... You just really have to get lucky. I mean, that's what it is.
Well,
it's luck.
Something? I ain't relying on luck because, if I rely on luck, I'm setting myself up for disaster, and I don't like tickets.
Yeah, but that's just the financial district in certain hours. Like, if you work on a Sunday or a Saturday, you're going to have a completely different experience.
Okay, here's the deal. So I got a request for an Uber Eats delivery to some guy, and this is in a residential area, and it was at night, and I could have, I'll be honest with you, I could have easily double parked my car. Now, here's the thing. I double parked it. I rang the buzzer, and it said, to deliver it to the apartment. Mm-hmm. Now, there was no parking. So I had my flashers on, and I'm like, I'm not going up there into your apartment building all the way up. The guy was on the first floor. So I rang the buzzer again. He rang the buzzer to let me in. I'm like, can't come up. Yeah, but he didn't hear me. He rang it again, and then I rang it again, and then he sticks his head out the window. I could literally see him like he was like 15 feet. I could have thrown the food up. He goes, dude, just come up. I go, I can't, man. I'm double parked down here. He says, well, other drivers do it. I go, double parking equals a ticket unless you're going to tip me $400. I mean, I didn't say that, but in my mind, it was like, but I'm like, something. So if I make it a habit, even though it's 10 o'clock at night, there's probably no one around, but that's when things happen, because I've seen traffic enforcement around out of the blue, like 10, 11, 12, and then you get a ticket because you're running up in the building when someone is like 20 feet away from me to come down. And I apologize. I said, listen, I do apologize, but I make it a habit. There's no parking here. If there was parking, I would have been more than glad to come up, but tickets are expensive.
Well, one thing I want to talk about is there has been a lot of updates with the Uber app. Just recently, I've noticed when I arrived at certain restaurants, instead of just swiping that I'm at the restaurant, there are photos that pop up in the app, and these photos show like where to park.
Yeah,
they show that. Go to this door, go to this counter,
which is kind of cool, actually. I mean, it's a good feature. It really helps to direct the
carrier,
the
where
driver,
to go.
The carrier, the delivery person, and to identify the area.
And also, I've noticed on some deliveries, not on as many as I would like to see, a lot of deliveries nowadays just say, meet in car. Like the person's going to come down and pick up the item, and you don't have to leave the car. And those are really nice. You don't have to look for a parking spot.
Oh my God, I love the ones where you just have to show up, and then people actually come out. They walk down these 10 steps, they're so grateful.
Or 4 steps.
And they come up to your car, and of course I'm like, how I do it, Bob? And they're like, no, it's for Mike. I'm like, you got it. And I hand them the food because I'm never going to tell you what your real name is because I want to make sure that you're the right person. But I've also had deliveries where nobody's showed up. Like, I mean, I've called, I've rang the buzzer, like nothing. And I know a lot of drivers that I've spoken to, a lot of Eats drivers, they're like, what do I do if, I'm like, well, what you do is you can do 2 things. You can put the food on the front steps or wherever it is, and just like I delivered it, but it's kind of like
on the front steps,
or undeliverable. And then, okay, if I do that, then what do I do with the food?
Well,
It depends on how hungry you are.
Yeah, it really depends. Now, I've heard a lot of drivers say take the food back to the restaurant. Now, at first I thought that was the right thing to do, but that's not. I don't know. If you take the food back to the restaurant is going to throw the food away.
Yes, all right, because it's already semi-contaminated and it's a health risk. It's against the law, actually.
Yeah, because it already left the restaurant. So,
and actually, Uber, I think, pretty much tells you. I think all the delivery people tell you to
pretty much keep
do what you want with it.
Now, in certain cases on Postmates, certain things they will let you keep if it's over a certain amount. They will not.
You have to bring it back.
Now, let's say you order a fancy steak from a fancy restaurant. Usually they don't want that, but let's say you go order a fancy...
I am not returning that steak, dude. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But let's say you order the wrong bottle of fancy champagne, and it's like a $50 bottle. They may want you to, turn that in. They might not let you keep that one.
Full.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't want you, full.
I mean, maybe if it was like a $20 bottle, you could get away with it. But for the most part, if it's food on Uber or caviar, they'll just let you keep it. I usually just, give it to...
So bottom line, guys, I think it's fair to say that you shouldn't keep all your, eggs in one basket. Don't get overly focused on Uber and Lyft. First of all, food is diversifying, what you do, what we do in the on-demand sharing somewhat economy, and also provides us with a backup for income in the event that shizit goes wrong, and sometimes it does. I mean, this is why I tell a lot of Uber drivers who are like Uber centric, Uber focused, hooked on Uber's whatever, Uber, and I cannot stand anyone that even overly emphasizes
I
Uber.
love Uber.
Though I get it, I understand it, but this is what happens. You know how many times I've talked to drivers, they're like, Mike, I got deactivated, or Mike, my account got suspended because I had a little bumper thing, or Mike, I says, well,
all the time, dude.
I say, well, are you driving for Lyft? Guess what the answer is?
Diversify.
No.
Why?
So guess what? So you just lost income while you're handling your business, trying to get things in order, get hooked up back with Uber. You could be on Lyft, keeping the money flow going, and you gotta have a redundant backup system. I mean, that's what it should be.
On Lyft or Postmates or Caviar, just have some other backup system. You never know.
And just give it a shot, give it a try. Not to mention that, I don't know about you, but guys, the more platforms you're connected with, the more referrals that you could actually have access to. Remember, this is not just about driving for fares. We've got multiple streams of income. There's driving, making money. The more you drive, generally the more you earn, but you can't, we could do 100 hours in a week. I know I actually know some drivers that have done 80.
I know a few. I
got every week comes from Sacramento. So you got to consider that. So aside from driving for fares, there's also referrals and incentives. Whether it's signing up drivers
or riders.
Riders
is so important. So many people look over riders.
This is part of the income stream. Don't let all the bloggers and the video guys do it. You guys can do it on a very small scale, and if you put time and energy into it, you can make it happen. It doesn't require much. In any case, we'll talk about that in an up and coming video. But let's get to the third segment to finish today's episode 3 off. UberPool Driver Revolt.
I'm ready to talk about this one.
Wow, I think UberPool's definitely become a major talking subject amongst the community on Facebook, everywhere. How many drivers do you think love UberPool? I mean, I'm just curious.
I don't mean to be the person I don't mean to be that person that you guys don't like, but I actually kind of like UberPool, but I see why people don't like it.
That's because you're cheap and you're taking it as a rider too, but so do I actually.
Yeah, but no.
I actually bring cash in my pocket, and I'm always tipping my Uber drivers on Lyft Line or Lyft.
I think it's the area. I think it works differently here. Because I talk to other drivers around here in the Bay Area, and they don't tend to hate it as much as drivers in other parts of the U.S. Like, drivers in other parts of the U.S., they literally hate UberPool with a passion. Like, drivers out here, they dislike it, but it's not like... I mean, when I look at the Facebook groups, like, people really hate it. Like,
okay, here's the thing, okay? UberPool, okay? You got your weekly Power Driver Rewards program, here in San Francisco. It's a pretty good one. It's an extra 500. I know a driver, he's got 575. 575 if he completes 120 trips in a week. So now at that point, you're going to pretty much take anything that comes your way. So that's a given. But I think even so, I definitely see, especially some of the local Facebook groups here in the San Francisco surrounding Bay Area, and I've seen other groups as well. In general, drivers don't really seem to like it much because it can pay out like $1.50. I've seen a negative. Can you imagine having a negative fare?
I've seen multiple negatives.
Like basically you owed Uber to pick up that.
Yeah.
Dude, can you imagine owing Uber to give somebody a ride?
I mean, only if people would do the math sometimes.
So look, so even if you're getting like, some trips, reward stuff, it's still, there's something it doesn't seem right with a lot of drivers.
It doesn't. I remember when it first came out, it was so
okay.
awesome.
It was good to work. Well, first of all, the base time and distance was the same as UberX. And, Uber didn't kind of have this little thing going on where the rider's collective gross was more than what the driver was collecting. I was talking to a driver yesterday. He said he had an UberPool. So he says UberPool is surging. And I go, well, I thought it was surging already. I mean, he goes, no. This rider's surge came out to $45, Mike. He says when I dropped him off, we compared. I was $15. She was charged $45, and that's why. Knowledge is power.
That's profit.
And when drivers start figuring out that Uber is actually making more money on UberPool because you can't say they're overcharging the rider, but they're charging the rider more on a gross or collective rides than the driver is actually earning. So if you got 3 people who are going to the airport, they're paying $21, $22. That's almost $60.
Or they might be paying $30.
Right. And how much is the driver getting?
He's getting less than $30.
The driver's getting
all 3 people.
Right. So Uber's collecting, let's just say 2 to 3 rides to the airport, 2 to 3 passengers, maybe 40. I'm just a roundabout number, $40 to $60. The driver is still gonna get $15 net, $14 net. And this is just here in San Francisco, and just to give you an idea what the difference is. And when drivers are finding this out, they're not freaking happy, dude.
No, they're not.
Okay, yeah. So and that's what's happening. More and more drivers are becoming aware, which gets to what this segment is about, which is Uber driver revolt. Uber drivers it's happening. Uber drivers are now inquiring. They are begging. They are demanding that Uber take them off of UberPool.
Yeah, they're opting out left and right.
They're right, and of course, it's not technically an option, which that's a whole nother technicality in terms of, and that even comes down to somewhat of kind of labor laws, or what defines a driver as an independent contractor or employee. Because while it's an option for riders to take UberPool, for some strange reason, it's like it's another platform, right? But not when you're a driver. It's UberX, UberPool, and that's all you can do.
Well, I think it's a little weird that they can say, okay, you have to accept UberPool requests, but they don't force you to accept Uber Eats requests. So they still give you the option.
Well, sort of.
I mean, it's like you...
I mean, you have to opt in. If you're an UberX driver, you have to opt into Uber Eats. But, I've heard stories where drivers have went out and somehow they were all opted in and they went to go pick up a burrito instead of a rider, and they're like, what the hell am I doing here?
And they're like, how do I drop this off? I thought I want to pick up people.
Like they're freaking out, and it's like, how did I get this? And it's called a glitch. And Uber,
they tend to have a lot of those.
They tend to have a lot of glitches.
And sometimes glitches can work in the favor for the people who create those glitches,
Yeah, they don't generally work in favor for. I mean, I don't think I've ever had a glitch where I've been paid more, like in a trip.
No.
Or yeah.
No, I mean, when you ever got a trip where you pick up someone and drive them from here to there and you make $50? Never.
Right, because it was a glitch,
happens.
right? And Uber even took back the money or whatever. But I've had plenty of glitches where, like, I'm checking especially Uber. Look. Look. Okay, let's get back to
it's always the other way.
Yeah, it's always the other way.
You're always
and
getting
the thing
shorted.
is that I remember when I used to send in my fare glitches to Uber back in 2013.
Forget about it.
And you know what they told me? Our engineers are working on it.
Of course they are. Always working on it.
So I've drawn the conclusion that the engineers have been working on it for a long time to keep it glitching.
I mean, yeah. Okay, but Uber snitched on themselves.
Look, I mean, and that's going to be another segment. We're going to be talking about Uber's losses and what they really mean, and potentially what they really add up to. But getting back to the UberPool revolt, so drivers are requesting that they're being removed. Now, here's the thing: Uber is honoring drivers across the nation opt out of Uber.
What do you mean they're honoring? Are
UberPool?
So is it okay, or would a driver have to demand it?
It seems like, look, it seems like a hit and miss, and it seems like there may be a certain strategy into requesting that Uber remove you for a number of reasons.
Oh, so basically what you're saying is I have to ask Uber a certain way, and they may remove me?
I've seen drivers get rejected, and I've seen Uber comply and agree.
They're playing like that now.
Now, there's a blogger that had posted how to opt out of UberPool, and I was like, I don't think there is a how.
Wait, was this something like the Rideshare dude or something like that?
The Rideshare dashboard.
Oh, I know the Rideshare dashboard. Yeah,
Rideshare dashboard has actually got some really great information. He's got some great resources, but he's got this article which, I think it got a lot of attention, and he's got a kind of an instructional on how to opt out of UberPool. Now, whether it actually works or not, I'm not too sure, but I have seen, as you know, the both of us, we follow multiple Facebook groups throughout the U.S. Okay, that helps us keep informed about what's going on in different cities, different markets, with different platforms, different drivers everywhere. It's a great tool just for me, so that and for Jermaine, so that we can
always on Facebook.
so that we can be, so we know what's going on, as opposed to a lot of drivers, for example, who do these YouTube videos, who are talking about certain things that really only applies to they're only going to talk about Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's important that
or
we
Atlanta,
have
Georgia,
or Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
So their focus is linear, and it's only based on their experience in their market. And that's why I don't usually do videos where I'm talking about, if I'm talking about fares and earnings here, I'm making it very clear that this is based on this market. But there are some general rules and thumbs. But so I think I think this revolt is happening, and Uber is kind of agreeing, because I think they're realizing that this is major. This could be very huge when it comes to, again, the whole independent contractor versus employee. You're forced technically to take UberPool, which is technically a separate platform. And I think
it's a separate platform, and it's not the same as picking up UberX. UberX is...
I mean, imagine if you went out and invested in a $80,000, luxury SUV, and you're on the Lux platform or the Select or whatever, and then all of a sudden, Uber forced you to take what? It's a separate platform for riders. They force you to take UberPool. You would be like, are you crazy? Yeah. Now, of course, as a Select or as a premium vehicle platform driver, you can have it switched in your account not to take certain things on, like UberX/UberPool. So, I mean, if you have that option there, why don't you have it as an option as a UberX driver? In fact, most drivers who sign up think they're signing up for UberX. They have no clue they're about to be slapped up with some, and I get calls and I get texts and I get emails from drivers going, oh yeah, so I had this ride where I picked up somebody, and then next thing I know, I'm going to pick somebody else. What's going on here? Am I making more? How do I contact Uber to charge them more? I'm like, it's called UberPool. And there's really nothing you can do about it. That's part of the platform, and
just get used to it, basically. I mean, it's kind of like...
Get used to it.
Yeah, it's not the most friendliest way to say, hey, this is how it works, but...
Yeah. And it's not. I mean, when I started taking UberPools 3 years ago, it was actually, it was $5 incentive anywhere in the city. So it's flat rate. So the surge was off I was making $40, $50, $60 in an hour.
You remember
Easy.
UberPool? I remember when Hitch started Rideshare, that was where you would link up with other riders, and then Lyft bought Hitch. And then after Lyft bought Hitch, Lyft had Lyft Line, and then Uber started UberPool, and then there you have it. Hitch was gone, but Hitch was a company that originally started the whole rideshare.
Well, yeah, even Sidecar didn't have a pool system. I don't know if their app was designed. I can't remember, but I mean, they're the first ride share, but I don't think they didn't have a shared ride component at the time. They never had a pool system.
No, I remember meeting the guy. Because his name was Trishan. He was like 25 years old, and he thought of the whole idea, and Lyft bought it. And it's pretty cool. I wish I would have thought of it. Simple.
I think it's a great idea. I think definitely UberPool has its benefits, obviously, for riders. I take UberPool. It's cost effective. But I know, as a driver and taking UberPool or Lyft line, that there is a part of that money that the driver is just not getting that I feel that they should. I think it's skewed in a way. There's a lot of things going on that doesn't really, a lot of drivers don't agree with. A lot of drivers are completely oblivious. Some are just grateful for what they have. But I think, like I said, knowledge is power, and the more drivers kind of figure out, how Uber is gaming the system. It's Uber has always said that it's a benefit for drivers because they'll get more requests and more rides in a certain period of time. It's a benefit for Uber. You're doing more work, you're putting in more time, and you're actually making less money comparably. But
more people in your car, it's more work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and it seems like the value of that has diminished. And I think UberPool needs to go back to what originally it was, though I don't think that's going to happen because obviously Uber is generating more revenue, and because of these differences in the collected Uber rider dollars for a particular ride, 2, 3, versus the driver, what the driver's earning, Uber keeps the difference, and that's a huge chunk of change. They don't got to pay out commission. It's a lot of money to keep, but I think this is something that's going to be coming up soon in the future. But in the meantime, there's a movement. The Uber driver revolt has begun, and drivers are wanting to opt out. But you gotta weigh this out, guys. You opt out, you might be getting less requests.
Mm-hmm.
So
I would imagine.
You got to figure it out, and Uber can't split it. I think, and the vehicles, in your account. It's not you can't do like UberX or like UberX and UberPool. Maybe you can though. I mean, if they can opt you out, then you should be able to switch up, right? It's just like in my account, I have UberX, UberPool, and Uber Delivery. I could switch. So if you can, they should be able.
But why would you just want to do UberX and UberPool? And then just do Uber.
Well, why? Because it gives you an opportunity just to try UberX by itself and see if there's any value there, and this way you don't have to maybe run back and forth. And then you can switch back to UberX / UberPool, and then ideally maybe those trips collected in UberX, UberPool will still apply towards your trip rewards. So whatever, I don't know. I'm just kind of thinking,
Because I know when I split my account, both trips do apply for the same rewards.
Yeah. But that's it, guys. That's our show today. Anything you want to leave our viewers with, other than be sure to send in, if you guys want to be on the show, start preparing, send in an email, especially if you're local here in San Francisco. We would love to have a guest coming up in the next several weeks as we're getting the show just moving in some direction. We want to have some guests, so you can email us at the Rideshare Show at Gmail. In the subject line, put guest. Okay, put guest. If you're interested in sponsorship, in the subject line, put sponsorship. So if you have a product or service or whatever, we love to sponsor, support you as you support us. What else do we? Q&As.
Yeah, we want to get some.
We want some guys. We want you to interact. We want you to engage. What questions do you have?
Comments. Definitely put them in the comments below.
Yeah. Speaking of comments, definitely share.
Yeah, share.
Comment.
Like,
subscribe to the channel. And again, like I said, be sure if we're going to be doing some Q&A sessions, send in your questions now in the subject title and the email at the Rideshare Show at Gmail. Questions. So you got questions, sponsors. What was the other one?
Questions, sponsors. I don't know.
Spaced out. But I think you.
Well, this is the end of the video.
It is, and we got to go. I'm starving.
Yeah, I'm starving too. Let's get out of here.
Thanks
a lot for watching, y'all.
Thanks for watching us. Mike Dean.
Jermaine Ellis.
Uber on, Lyft off.
And remember who loves you. Another day, another dollar with your homeboy Jermaine.
Peace out. Catch you next time. All right. Next time I'm going to say it. Later, guys.